Over the last decade of side hustling, I've had my fair share of products that tanked. And thinking about when they didn't sell, it wasn't because of a lack of hard work or skill. It was making what I thought were good choices. Yet some of my best products came from ignoring what feels like good advice. So in this video, I'm going to share 3 traps blocking you from finding your successful side hustle product. They might seem like good approaches, but they're actually keeping you stuck. And I've had to overcome every single one of them. The first trap is perfectionism, thinking that everything has to be perfect before you start. The most common things that keep people stuck when they're trying to make everything perfect are things like branding, so their colors and their business name, and also other things like just what platform to use. And they're really simple things, but they seem to keep people stuck for years. In one of my other videos, I talked to you about how when you're making a product and you're sending it out to your customers, you should make it the best you can. You should make it something that if you received it, you would be absolutely delighted to receive. I got this comment on that video. It was super interesting. The issue was I'd tried to link a free guide on my website and people were going there and the link wasn't working. It's now fixed. My reply to that comment was this. I thought I had linked it correctly and I'd done my best to make it work, but it didn't. Preneurship is just one steep learning curve and you're always just doing your best. You're always just trying to work with what you've got, and you never want perfectionism to kill progress. You never want to be stuck because you're waiting for everything to be perfect. You can only ever make it the best you can at that time with what you know and what you have, and then keep going. Was the first ball cushion I made as good as the 1000th? Was the first ball cushion I made as good as the last ball cushion I made? No, the first one was not nearly as good, but it was good enough because it was what I knew at the time, and I made it the best I could with what I had. The 500th ball cushion was absolutely way better. Had I done my best with that first ball cushion? Yes, I had done my best with what I had and what I knew and my skills at the time and the materials that I had to use. I was learning as I went, I was figuring things out, and I saw things that I didn't see previously that would make it better. So when it comes to perfectionism, you do want some things to be perfect, but not everything. You want to perfect the ability to read the room. You want to perfect the ability to see opportunities and be able to know when something's not working and to stop doing that thing. You want to be able to listen to your customers and see what they like, what's selling the most. That's the thing that you want to be able to perfect, and to do that consistently. When I say that you need to be able to read the room, I mean that there will be things that people don't like about your product and there'll be things that they do like. Go further down the path of what people are liking and do less of what people are not liking, and that's how you grow it. You actually don't know what perfect is. It can only be perfect for right now, and that same thing will not be perfect in 2 weeks. If you have an idea, you can bet that there will be 50 other people in the world who are having that same idea at the same time as you. We're all living in the same world. We're all subject to the same macroeconomic, environmental rocks and hard places that exist. And we're all being pushed and pulled by the same forces. So it's quite likely that we're all going to be coming around to the same kind of realizations and conclusions and desires around the same time. I like to call this isness. It's the isness of the way the world is at the time. Isness is made up of everything that already exists, of what the reality is at the moment. It's obviously made up of the things that already exist, but it also includes countless other things. These things are seen and unseen. They could be anything like systems, factories, other businesses, governments, organizational structures, the economy, people's opinions and desires, just the general isness that pervades the society all around us. And Elizabeth Gilbert writes about this in her book, Big Magic, that an idea can ping more than one person at a time, and it can visit someone, and if they don't do it, it will go around looking for someone else to do it. So if you're stuck with perfectionism and you're not doing anything, you're not learning, you're not growing, you're not iterating your product, and you're not making any money. You just need to decide what a minimum viable product looks like for you. So what is the least worst version of your product that you would be happy to sell whilst you're improving it as you go? Atlassian was okay with creating a minimum viable product for what was going to become one of their most successful products, Jira. It was originally called the Atlassian Support System, or ASS. Yes, it was called ASS. The first version took 3 months to create and put on their website. It was 6 months before they got to version 1.0 and good enough to start selling actively. So it's really a game, and it can feel nerve-wracking at times, but you have to believe that there are many ideas that you could be dancing with at any time. Implementing them is the key, and when you're done, just know that you'll have another and another and another. You'll realize that the main challenge is not that ideas are rare and you have to make them absolutely perfect before getting them out in the world. It's that you actually have many ideas to choose from and you have to decide which one to go with. The second trap is selling what everyone else is selling, and I talk about this pretty much in every single one of my videos because it's where most people go wrong. We see someone who's really successful and they're selling a product and they're selling a lot of it and they look like they're making a lot of money, and everyone else wants to sell that too, and you think, this is it, this is the time for me to get in and start selling that product too. But you probably shouldn't. So you have to be really careful when you're in that space because there's way too much competition, and in order for you to sell anything or even make just a little bit of money, you may have to compete by reducing your prices, which means you make less profit, and that will affect your ability to consistently create a quality product. But if you can look at that product and kind of dissect what's happening there, you can probably find a way to take it to the next level. A lot of the time, successful businesses are a bit too busy selling what they're making and that everyone is demanding to actually set aside some time and resources to look at what they're going to do after that, to look at what they could do to innovate, to keep their sales high. They may not have time to look at what customers are buying less of and what customers are buying more of, but you do. You can look objectively from a bird's eye view at what is going on. What is missing from that product? How can it be improved? How can you find a way to tweak that and sell it to a whole different group of people that haven't been tapped into yet? A good example of this is duct tape and Teflon. And these were both products that were used in World War II in artillery and then were later adapted for domestic use. Then you can zoom out even further and ask, why are people buying this at all? So everybody's currently buying or have been buying Frank Green drink bottles, and you would say, why are people buying this? They're buying it because they want to carry their water around. But that's not the only reason. That's not actually the main reason, because there are lots of water bottles they could buy to carry water around. It's a status symbol, and particularly among young girls, it creates a sense of belonging and identity. So you might zoom out and say, well, young girls really like products that give them a sense of belonging and identity. So what else can I create that would give them that? Which is kind of what they're doing with pink palm puff hoodies at the moment. So how do you ignore what's popular and go down the path of what's not popular? You have to be careful who you spend time with. You have to be careful what you're consuming. You have to get yourself out and away from the isness that's happening all around you. Watch less TV, scroll a little bit less social media. Don't hang around people where there's too much groupthink. Try not to be around closed-minded people too much, and if you do talk to them, learn how to take what they say objectively so it doesn't skew what you're thinking and doing. You're looking for something that really resonates with you, and it's usually right in front of you. It's something that's very common and familiar to you, and so you don't really see it. It's boring, you've seen it before. It's not as interesting as what everyone else is doing, and so you ignore it and you don't see it. The third and final trap is that you need to be excited by your idea, which is kind of true, but there's different kinds of excitement. I used to fall for this many times, especially when I was younger, and I know now that it's a red flag and I need to take it slow. Because when I feel really overexcited about an idea, I realize I'm actually convincing myself that it's a good idea. It's coming from a place of so wanting it to work and so wanting it to be successful and so wanting to make money that you don't really look at it objectively. Sometimes when you're in this place of being on the hyper search for your idea and you've found something and you're really excited about it, you will feel the need to convince other people that it's a good idea as well, because for some reason you think you need their permission or approval. But if it's a really good idea, if it actually is a good idea, you would just believe that, you would just know. You can also avoid telling other people if you're easily swayed by them, even though you know it's a great idea. You can tell people, and if they're quite influential people in your life, they might say something negative and it can throw you off course. In actual fact, believing in the idea before you even have it is what works best. So what do you do when you're in this situation? You need to pause, because you're coming from a place of lack and of wanting and of grasping. It should feel more like a calm knowing, like a quiet yes that just never goes away. For me, it's also a feeling of inevitability, like this is going to happen, and knowing that I need to take the first step. Sometimes I even get to a point of feeling a sense of foreboding, because I know, oh, here we go, this is going to happen whether I like it or not, and I'm going on a journey and I don't know where it's really going to go. It may not seem like it because you can feel quite anxious and unsure of what's happening and how it's going to turn out, One day you'll look back and you'll realize that those early days of all-night tinkering and figuring things out, when nobody cared what you were doing and no one was watching and you weren't necessarily successful, were actually some of the most magical, wonderful days. This might sound strange, but you're actually trying to cultivate yourself first as a way of getting to your successful side hustle. You're trying to grow a sense of self-awareness around your thoughts and your emotions. When you have a big emotional reaction, you're asking yourself, why did I react that way? And you get to a place of being really good at not second-guessing your ideas and your decisions and trusting yourself. Thank you for watching this video. If you liked it, please subscribe. There's also a link below where you can subscribe to my upcoming newsletter and receive my free guide, 7 Secrets for Creating Successful Products.